Welcome to the Ben and Walker Movie Show. I am your co-host, Ben Davis, and of course I'm joined by my other co-host, Walker Holt, and we're excited to have a conversation with you about one of our favorite things in the world, movies. If this is your first time being here with us, welcome. We're glad to have you, and if this is, again, obviously if this is your first time here, smash that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with all the latest content we have for you guys. It's spooky season, so we might have a couple of deep dives waiting for you. And please leave a like for us. It helps us out a great deal, especially with the algorithm, and it helps bring more people and more eyes to this show, and that would do us a great deal of service. This is again our weekly, or again semi-weekly show this month, where we break down movie news that interests us. We talk about some of the recent trailers we've seen and things we've been watching, and occasionally we do some fun games at the end. But now that I got that down and out of the way, Walker, how are you doing this afternoon?
I'm good. I'm good. It's a chilly Sunday morning in North Carolina. Finally, I got a lot of football going on. I forgot again to set my lineup. I'm just out. I'm just done with it. I'm not gonna.
You're just done. You're one
The
of those
season's
people.
over
You
for
just
me. I can't handle it. I used to be so into it, and I was into baseball too. And then baseball became way too much work. And then I just
yeah, that's a
forget
long
every time.
season.
Yeah, and it's every day too that you have to change the lineup. So it's not just like I know you look at it Thursday and then again on Sunday, whatever. But it's every single day you have to put a starting lineup in, so that's tough. A lot of pitching
Yeah,
issues, but
that feels like a
I've
lot
even
of work.
checked it. I know I'm losing. I think I'm just done for the season.
I started Justin Fields and DJ Moore, and they got me combined together around 81 points. So very happy about that.
Oh, good. I have
Pretty
Justin
much,
Fields, so maybe that went well.
pretty much won me my week, hopefully. But I was just checking the scores of the game. Apparently, Chandler Zavala of the Carolina Panthers went down with an apparent neck injury. He gave
Hmm.
the thumbs up to the crowd, so he's, you know, at least able to move his arm. So that's good. But you hate to hear that. Thoughts and prayers go out to Chandler Zavala. I am a massive Carolina Panthers fan. We are not having a great season. I feel like that meme where everything's on fire and I'm the dog sitting there saying everything's fine, it's going to be fine. Look, I still believe in Bryce Young. I just hope that we can surround him with a team that is good and stop calling screen passes and believe in him to make throws. Uh,
That's
it's
scary.
it's
I
it's annoying.
For those of you wondering about my golf game, I know that's a big question. People are on the edge of their seat for. Have not continued since the last time. I am gonna go back. I'm playing next week at the place I got married, which is exciting. It's gonna be kind of special for me.
Ooh,
Um,
nice.
but I haven't played since, and I'm just kind of taking a step back. I'm trying to catch up with my life. I got too addicted to it. Every waking moment was thinking about golf, so I got to take a moment to catch up on some chores around the house. So we're still in storage unit mode. We actually closed it up last night finally
Oh,
and
nice.
canceled it, but now our living room's packed to the ceiling full of stuff. So now we're on to that. um,
Step two.
yeah, but we
Yeah.
it's been a good weekend. It's been productive. It's been good weather. It's been some
Good,
fun.
good. Yeah,
Watch some good content.
it's
Watch some not so good content.
same, same, same. Let me tell you. But yeah, I've had a pretty good week. Weather's been really good. Fall is here with us. I'm very excited about that. I love fall in Missouri because it's very gorgeous and it feels like fall. And the leaves are really pretty. I like it a lot, and it really adds to the spooky season atmosphere that we're in.
Mhm.
Um, so really cool. But let's get into some news, Walker. News this week is kind of slow. There wasn't a whole heck of a lot. But first thing we got here is John Wick director Chad Stahelski says he has story ideas for 5 through 9, and this is coming to us from comingsoon.net. Speaking with Inverse, Stahelski was asked where John Wick franchise was headed following the ending of John Wick 4, which saw the titular character played by Keanu Reeves seemingly die after dueling with an assassin named Kane. Um, He said, I have notebooks and notebooks of shit behind me. John Wick's 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Stahelski said, we have ideas for days. We just don't have the story locked. And I have no interest in doing a cash grab of bringing John Wick back for something. Is he a character I like? Of course. And if I did a couple of John Wick movies, great. Keanu would do one again and a second if he had a good story. We leave that open ended. I know that the studio would love to have us, or excuse me, love us to say we have one more. What are your thoughts on this? Do you want to see more John Wick?
I mean, my thoughts are conflicted.
Similar.
I love John Wick. I think it's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a fan of the cash grab, so I mean I respect it. I'd probably do something similar given the opportunity. That being said, from a critic and a audience member, it's not my favorite. So I do appreciate him saying that. And another thing is they've already made four and a spinoff series, which I'm about to talk about in a second. But the four is a lot of movies, and to keep the quality they've kept through all four movies, I mean, I think you could ask 100 people on the street and you'd get a lot of answers of which one the best is. You'd get four different answers from
Mm-hmm.
plenty of people. I mean, these movies are really good, and they've held up through four, which has already defied the odds. Now we're talking five through nine could get a little. That's even exponentially more difficult. You know, not everybody can do it as well as Friday the 13th. But I think if anybody could, you know, this crew could. I would definitely go see it. I imagine they would do a great job. It looks like they have their head in the right place for it if they wanted to do it. But it's hard to not make me nervous on a 5 through. No, we're talking about
Look,
that many.
look, I agree because like my thing is this: I love something like Lord of the Rings, where you have a beginning, middle, and end, right? And then the story's just done. It's done.
Yep.
There's something satisfying about being able on a Saturday afternoon, like a rainy Sunday day or something like that, where you can sit down and you can watch the entire series in one sitting and be done. There's something nice about that. And the way that 4 ended, it ended on a perfect note. Like, yeah, the world thinks he's dead, but he might not be. And he's the character's at peace. And, you know, they did so much with that fourth movie. That fourth movie is a lot of movie, and it's a masterpiece. I think it is, but it's an action movie masterpiece. But like, what else can you do? What else can you do? But having said that, I trust the creative team behind this. So if they feel they have a story worth telling, I'm there day one. But if you're going to ask me right now, do I want another one? No, I'm good with the 4 that we got. It's not because I don't love the franchise. It's because I there's something satisfying about a conclusive ending.
Yeah. If I'm gonna nitpick, my least favorite thing about this that is probably gives me the biggest doubt in it is when 4 came out. Was it May? I think it was May, April or May, or was that
March,
March?
March,
Okay.
March or April.
When 4 came out, it was fantastic. Like you said, it ended on a great note. It felt like a like, hey, we're not going to leave you any questions at the end of this. Like, this is what happened. You know what I mean? Like, we're not going to leave it
Yeah.
open ended for you. And 25 seconds later, they're like, we do have some ideas for 5. You know, like, and it was like, why did you end the movie like that? Well, you could have ended it in a different way. Like, you had to. Why did you have to nail the coffin so hard that you might pull it back? You know, I don't know. It's just wild. I mean, I don't
Well,
know why
the
they.
universe is so big. You can clearly they're going to tell another story with Anna de Armas's The Ballerina,
Mhm.
which I think takes place between 3 and 4 because John Wick's in it. So
So we're thinking
there's
this is
plenty of
we're gonna
things
go back in
to
time here for
explore.
John Wick. We're thinking this is
No, I think if they do John Wick 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, it'll be going forward. But I think that they're telling a story about the ballerina from the ballerina group of assassins from the third film,
Yeah,
and it's going to star Ana de Armas, who's fantastic.
yeah.
She's a fantastic actress. She's really good in action sequences. Um, I mean,
Loved
look
her in
at her, and
Bond.
yeah, she's like the one of the best
But
parts of the movie. I mean,
completely agree.
I love that movie, but she's one of the best parts of it, and the action sequence is pretty awesome that she's in. So I'm looking forward to that. But there's plenty of other characters to explore. I'd just say let John Wick rest. That's what I think.
Yeah. And okay, did you see the spin-off show, The Continental? I didn't know it was already out.
I haven't seen it. I
It's
haven't
pretty
seen it yet.
undermarketed.
It's a three part.
Yeah.
It's a three-part miniseries. I know Mel Gibson's in it.
I had no idea Mel Gibson was in it. They really like undermarketed this thing. Went to Peacock with
They
Mel
really
Gibson,
did.
kind of, and I just when we were just prepping for the show, I was like, "When's the Continental coming out?" I was like, "Oh, 2 weeks ago." I had no idea. I hadn't heard one
Yeah,
thing about it.
it's come out already. I haven't seen it yet. My plate has been so full with things to
Yeah,
watch. I haven't gotten a chance to watch it. It hasn't gotten great reviews, but I always watch something before I, go off the reviews. Judge it for myself um, excuse me, before judging it. But next story we got on the docket is Chris Rock is set to direct a Martin Luther King movie produced by Steven Spielberg. This coming to us from Deadline. Exclusive. Universal Pictures is gearing up to tell a definitive cinematic biopic about the life of Martin Luther King Jr. The studio has appointed the rights, or optioned the rights. Jesus, I can't read. Options the rights to adapt Jonathan Egge's critical acclaimed biography, King, A Life. Chris Rock is in the final talks to direct, produce, and Steven Spielberg will executive produce. What are your
I
thoughts on this?
love the idea of an MLK biopic. I think that could be a great story to tell. I think it could be really powerful and exciting. I'm surprised there's not more out there on it. Chris
Well, you
Rock's
have
fantastic.
Selma,
Yeah,
but it's not really a biopic. But
yeah, and you've got the Bryan Cranston. I think they touch all the way. I think he's played Lyndon B. Johnson in that. I think I'm not sure, but
yeah,
Chris Rock's a talented guy. I assume he could be very passionate about this and make this like a real project close to home. They want the Steven Spielberg production credit to get me excited about it, and it's not. That's the issue. It's like if you go through the list of movies, the filmography Steven Spielberg's attached to as a producer or an EP,
it's a lot.
it's not the same as his prestigious directing filmography.
No,
There's a lot in there that you do not think of when you think of Steven Spielberg. So that doesn't.
he
It's
produces
just
the
a way to
Transformers films.
yeah, it's like a clickbaity. Like it's like a way to like, oh, Steven Spielberg's attached to it because people don't like really quite understand the logistics behind like a producer. Like
Yeah,
so it doesn't. That makes me nervous. And Chris Rock doesn't have a lot of credits directorially, does he? I mean, he's got
he's got a couple of films that he's
I
directed.
think I Love My Wife or something.
Yep, I think I love my wife, and a few others. Uh, I mean, who knows? Maybe this is the one. I mean, John Krasinski was a guy who directed one movie that wasn't particularly good, but then you watch A Quiet Place 1
Yeah,
and 2, and they are phenomenally directed. Maybe this is something that Chris Rock is very passionate about and puts his whole body and spirit into it and just makes an incredible movie. I'm definitely interested in a Martin Luther King biopic, a Martin Luther King Jr. biopic. I mean, who wouldn't be?
right.
I think a man lived a very powerful life, and you could tell a very powerful story about him. So why not?
Like,
And then you have Steven Spielberg, executive producer, but how much is he involved? Who knows? We'll see. But I mean, I'm interested in it. I'm
I do
certainly
too. I mean,
interested
I'll
in it.
see it and I'll hope it's good. It just doesn't. I'm cautiously optimistic.
I I I, I get it. I do. Moving on. Fantastic Four update. This is an article from Collider that's giving us an update from director Matt Shankman. If I can pull up the quote here, let's see here. Let's see. Shankman confirmed the outcome of the SAG after strike pending. The movie would be heading to the legendary Pinewood Studios, where the film history has been throughout the decades. Yes, we are definitely going to go in front of cameras next year. Probably spring it will shoot in. Looking at Pinewood. He said, it's different in so many ways. I wish I could be specific. I wish I could say more. But we are doing things very different from a story standpoint, from an approach to filmmaking standpoint that really fits the material. I wish I could say more. I would love to, but I can't. I think it's going to be unlike anything you've seen before. I've heard that before. And certainly unlike anything at Marvel that you've seen before. So here's the thing. I'm cautiously optimistic about this movie. I'm 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 not over the moon excited like a lot of people are. Matt Shankman directed, I believe, most of WandaVision,
Mm.
and that is a show that I think it is very poorly written.
Oh,
I
okay.
am not. I am not a fan of WandaVision. I think it has good ideas, but the execution of those ideas left a lot to be desired to me. I thought it was very uneven. I thought the finale was really bad, and that's not to say that there isn't great things in it. I really loved that. What is grief if not love persevering line in that moment?
Mm-hmm.
That was great. But I'm a little bit more nervous, and I'm also like, we are getting so many like casting rumors at this point that my excitement has gone away from that a little bit. I just want to see who they have, and I'm sure we'll find out pretty soon. I know there's been rumors about Sue Storm and who's going to be playing her, and Johnny Storm who's going to be playing him. There's been so many reports about Adam Driver playing, or I say reports. There's been so many rumors that Adam
Right.
Driver is playing Reed Richards. I've seen Matt Smith as Reed Richards. There's been a lot of back and forth about who's going to play the Thing. We really don't know at this point in the MCU. You know, my excitement is for the known properties. It's for the unknown properties or properties that I didn't necessarily love to begin with. I'm not as interested in. Marvel hasn't really earned the benefit of the doubt recently, aside from like Guardians 3. They've been pretty hit and miss. Granted, I haven't, and we'll get to it later. I haven't seen Loki, the first
Mm-hmm.
episode, but I'm just when it comes to Fantastic Four, cautiously optimistic. I'm glad that they're going to start shooting this thing. We're going to get some casting announcements soon. I'm sure after this SAG strike, but we'll see. Walker, what are your thoughts on it?
Real similar to X-Men, not as intense as X-Men for me, but I think a lot weighs on this, and I think they really need to do it well. And the fact, like you said it perfectly, we've heard this before as far as doing it differently than this is not going to be the Fantastic Four you expect, or we're doing this a little outside the box from the normal Marvel. Fine, but very seldomly has that truly been the case. I mean, and I don't know whether you like it or not. I mean, I felt like Werewolf, the Halloween special last year
Oh, I
was
love that.
was yeah, I did too. I liked it a lot, but I thought that was outside the box. That was a little different
Yeah,
than what we're used to, and like it was great.
yeah.
This is just a good opportunity for. I mean, I'm not a big Fantastic Four guy. I mean, I like them fine, but I don't know anything about the comics. I liked the original movies that came out when we were young with Chris Evans and Jessica Alba and Michael Chiklis.
Jessica Alba. Yeah,
Yeah, I enjoyed those to an extent. The more recent one was trash. I thought it was so bad. The 2015 one with Miles Teller. It
yeah,
felt
that
like
was
the
really
movie
bad.
didn't even start
Well,
until an hour
I
and
will
20
say
minutes
this:
into it.
the first half of it I was enjoying, and then once they got away from that, it became like it felt like a completely different movie. It felt like a
Yeah.
completely different movie. But yeah, I'm like you. I have a soft spot for those Fantastic Four movies that came out in 2005 and 2007, respectively. But like, I don't love them. They're not great. There's never
It's
really
just a
been a
good
good one.
opportunity for an ensemble cast. Like if you can get the cast, I mean, people care so much about the casting, and people just talk about it. They've been
Yeah,
talking about it for years now with John Krasinski and everybody. And they
people
got
been
the
throwing names to the wall, just hoping that they stick. You know?
yeah. And I mean, if they can get a good cast, not necessarily who the fans want off the bat, but just if they can just nail the cast and have this ensemble work together, it's just you just have an opportunity in these ensemble movies to create something like more exciting. Now it can create a disaster too. It's high risk, high reward. But
Yeah.
these group movies and Marvel's done it well a few times. I mean, I'm not a big Eternals guy, but they've obviously done it well with the Avengers, and I don't know. I think it could be. I'm excited about it. I hope it's the next chapter. I mean, I'm not as big on it as the X-Men because of my passion for the characters, I guess. But I hope they do well. I hope they nail it. I mean, we'll touch on Loki in a little bit, but for the most part, I've mentioned that I'm a little cooled off on the MCU, and I'm hoping to, heat me back up.
Yeah, I'm hoping for the same. And look, maybe Fantastic Four will be that movie that does it. Like I said, I'm more cautious about this movie because I necessarily didn't love WandaVision, Matt Shankman's previous project with Marvel. That said, I think there were really good moments in it, and if he can take the the stuff he did with those great moments in WandaVision and apply that to Fantastic Four, then it could be a really good movie. And regardless, I'll be there opening day. I'm a sucker for comic book genre. I'm a sucker. I'm a sucker for all that stuff. So I'll be there opening day, regardless. And I hope for the best.
Yep.
Last story we'll get to here. Uh, Frankenstein update. This coming to us from Collider. Let's see if I can get it here. The page froze up on me. Here we go. I'm doing Frankenstein. We're working on it. We start shooting in February, and it's a movie I have been wanting to do for 50 years since I saw the first Frankenstein. I had an epiphany, and it's basically a movie that required a lot of growth and a lot of tools that I couldn't have done 10 years ago. Now I'm brave or crazy enough or something, and we're going to tackle it. It's Oscar Isaac, Andrew Garfield, Christoph Waltz, Mia Goth, and we're working on it. I'm sold on the
I'm
cast
on board.
alone.
Yeah, I'm
You're
sold on
going to
the
have,
director.
yeah, you have Oscar Isaac probably playing Dr. Frankenstein. You have Andrew Garfield, I'm going to assume, playing Frankenstein. Christoph Waltz, Mia Goth is awesome.
Yeah.
I think
God,
she
that is a
deserved
good
an Oscar
cast.
nomination for Pearl last year. And Christoph Waltz, I just casually mentioned him, two-time Oscar winner, by the way.
Yeah, that's a huge cast. That's awesome. And no one's
Yeah,
better to direct a monster movie.
no, he's perfect, perfect for it. I'm pumped just based off the director and the cast alone. I mean, the last monster movie that Guillermo del Toro did won Best Picture, Shape of Water, and that was a
Yeah,
terrific movie.
sure. And have you? I just last year or during COVID watched the original Frankenstein for the first time.
That's a good one.
Uh, yeah, it is good. It holds up pretty well for so far. And
It does.
so I'm pretty excited. I think this could jumpstart a classic character and modernize it and give new audiences something to cling on to that doesn't feel like a distant like tall tale that you hear in a storybook or something. Something that you could really relate to
Well,
nowadays.
there's something about Guillermo del Toro. He takes these characters and he makes you have empathy for them, for monsters, and he makes the monsters seem more human than humans themselves in movies.
And this is a good character
Guillermo
for
del Toro,
that. This is perfect. I mean, the
Yeah,
story of Frankenstein is made for that type of thing. Did you like Nightmare Alley?
yeah, I really like Nightmare
I
Alley
did
a
too.
lot.
I thought it was really good.
Yeah,
Um,
it is a very dark movie, let me tell you, but it's a really good movie. I liked it a
yeah,
lot.
I agree.
I'm a fan. I'm looking forward to this. I think it's going to be fantastic. Probably going to be an Oscar contender when it comes out, and maybe Andrew Garfield will get nominated for an Oscar and win. Third time will be the charm. I thought he should have won for Hacksaw Ridge back in the day, and I would not. I was pulling for Will Smith to win, but I would not have been unbelievably upset if Andrew Garfield would have won for Tick Tick Boom.
Yeah, I love Tick Tick Boom. Love it.
It's a good movie. It's a really good
Yeah,
movie.
I'm a big musical nerd too. I dig it.
Yeah, Grease is like your favorite movie.
Yeah, it's been one. Yep. Um. So we got some new trailers this week that we
Oh,
can talk about. Silent Night, new Christmas movie, starring Joel Kinnaman. Kid Cudi's in it, directed by John Woo. Did you see this?
oh yeah, and I'm pumped. This trailer looks freaking sick. I mean, I'm a big John Woo fan to begin with. You know, what's the last movie he did in America? Was it Paycheck? The
I
Ben
think it
Affleck
might have been.
movie?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
I haven't seen that movie in so long, but I mean, when I think of John Woo, I think of Face Off.
me too.
Speaking of Grease, John Travolta, that is what I think about, and that's one of my favorite action movies of all time. Love that freaking movie. Take his face off.
Oh, I
Yeah.
completely agree. I think it's great. Manhunt was his last movie. Manhunt, The Crossing 2, The Crossing, Reign of Assassins, Red Cliff 2, Red Cliff, Stranglehold, All the Invisible Children. God, he's done 9 since the Paycheck. I've
Oh
never heard
wow.
of any of them. I've never heard of any of them. Mission Impossible 2, though, is one that comes to mind as well. That's a
Yeah, the
guilty
doves.
pleasure of mine. John Woo is really big in my guilty pleasure wheelhouse.
Yes.
I mean, I go back and forth on Face Off on whether that's a guilty pleasure or just a straight up great movie.
That's a straight up great movie, man.
Yeah, maybe Mission Impossible 2 lives in that world for me. Guilty pleasure.
Probably.
No, this looks. I mean, did you see Violent Night last year with David Harbour?
Oh yeah, I loved it. I
I didn't
loved it. I had
see
so
it. I
much fun
heard
with it.
great things about it, though. I mean, these
It
new.
is Die Hard meets Home Alone.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, it's always fun to get something unusual, and even if it's not overly Christmassy, just renditions of Christmas music in like more intense ways to match the tone of the movie is always fun. It's always fun catching a movie in theaters with a Christmas backdrop. I'm stoked.
Also, I like Joel Kinnaman a lot as an actor.
Or
I
Rick
thought he
Flag.
was Rick Flag. I thought he was really good in the Suicide Squad, and it broke my heart what they did to him in the
Yeah.
Suicide Squad. Not saying it was a bad move; it was a great story move. It sets up Peacemaker, the TV show. I really love, but I just hate because I love that character so much, and James Gunn made me care for that character so much, and Joel Kinnaman's performance was really good in that, and I like him as an actor. Anything I've ever seen him in, he's always jumped off the screen for me, and seeing him in what looks like to be like a really kick-ass revenge movie
hmm
directed by John Woo. Yeah, I'm on board.
Yeah. You mentioned Pearl a few minutes ago. I have not seen Pearl or X, but X has Kid Cudi in it, I believe, which also he also plays a role
Yes,
in this. And the only thing I've seen
yes.
Kid Cudi in was Westworld season 4. He did pretty good. I mean, he was pretty good in the
He
movie.
is a he's a very talented person. I love his music. He's one of my
Mhm.
favorite artists. He did an animated movie for Netflix. He did a whole album to it, and it's really really good. It features the song "Burrow" that he made for Joe Burrow. It sounds like he made it for
Mhm.
Joe Burrow. He's an Ohio kid, so I say kid. He's an Ohio guy,
Yeah.
so I am a big fan of him, and I think anything he does, I'll at least check it out. The only thing I've ever seen him in acting wise, I'm pretty sure, was I saw him in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. The not Excellent Adventure, but Bill and Ted, the third movie that they did
Right,
that
right,
just
right,
came
right.
out during
Yeah.
COVID.
Oh yeah, so I'm excited. I'm excited for the Christmas season
Yeah,
and watch. Add another Christmas movie to the list. I need to catch. I need to watch Violent Night too.
it's
But
good.
other holiday movie. We got another trailer for Thanksgiving, the slasher movie. This is supposed to come out November 17th. I don't. I'm interested. I don't have a lot of
Not
high
feeling
hopes
it.
for it. This, you know, this isn't right up my wheelhouse or anything. But there's definitely some creepy stuff in this trailer. The preparing this woman to be cooked or whatever is eerie, and the oven looks intense and painful. I read the synopsis. It says after a Black Friday riot ends in a tragedy, a mysterious Thanksgiving inspired killer terrorizes Plymouth, Massachusetts, the birthplace of the infamous holiday. That's funny that a Black Friday nightmare got it kicked off. We do get a look at Patrick Dempsey in this trailer, though. I
Yeah,
think at first he was just. I don't know if he was in the first trailer on IMDb. He was rumored to be in the movie. We see him now.
yeah. I mean, I like Patrick Dempsey,
Mhm.
McDreamy, but no, I'm looking forward to this. I mean, I've been looking forward to it ever since I saw the fake trailer in Grindhouse. Uh, Eli Roth is a bit of a hit and miss director for me, but if he can make this like a fun horror movie, similar to a movie that we might be doing next week, then for a deep dive, I'll be on board for it. I think it could be good. I think it could be good, but it could also be bad given track record of Eli Roth with him having more of a hit and miss track record for me.
Yeah, my expectations are low, so I imagine they'll come out. I mean, I'll either it'll be what I think it is or it'll be better. So I think I'll come out of it pleased or satisfied. I don't think I'll be disappointed by it. What I expected it to be. We got the Beekeeper starring Jason Statham and Jeremy Irons. I love Jeremy Irons. Anytime he's on screen, anytime I hear his voice, it just gives me the chills. I like listening, thinking about Scar, thinking about God, what's his name in Watchmen? I forgot that guy's name. The he was like banished on the other planet. I forgot his name. I'll look it up in a bit.
Yeah.
But this is expected in January 2024. David Ayer to direct it, and David Ayer. I don't dislike the first Suicide Squad as much as the world does. I think I mean I like the Suicide Squad, James Gunn's much more, but I didn't hate the first one.
Ozymandias.
Ozymandias,
Ozymandias.
that's right, Ozymandias. Great character there too. But I love like End of Watch. I love Fury, and I even like Street Kings. I kind of like that. I thought that was a good movie. Um, but this looks like a action packed Jason Statham movie. I mean, those are fun. I remember you like. Do you remember Crash?
Oh yeah,
The
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
that was a
Oh,
fun movie.
you mean Crank?
Crank. Crash is an
Yeah,
Oscar winner.
there's two different crashes. You have like the really weird one that came out in the late '90s. That's about people getting off to car crashes, and then you have Crash, which won in the Best Picture for the year 2005. Yeah, Crank's very
Yeah,
different from those two movies.
Crank is a fun, ridiculous movie that was fun to watch.
Yeah, the
And I don't
first
know if
one,
this is the
yes.
same movie, but from what I can tell from the trailer, I don't know if this is the whole movie, but um, I absolutely love the idea of watching telephone scammers getting the shit beat out of them. Like they scammed someone and out of some money, and it looks like she ended up hurting herself afterwards, and he was like, and he just took out a whole floor full of scammers. Love that.
Yeah,
I could watch that
yeah.
all day.
I I like Jason Statham. I mean, he's a very good action star. I love him in just about any movie, even the bad ones.
Mhm.
He's pretty good in.
Yeah.
The movie itself, I'm a fan of David Ayer. I think David Ayer kind of took a beating for what he did with Suicide Squad, or what he didn't do with Suicide Squad. Kind of had the movie taken away from him and edited by a trailer company. But
Yeah.
I think this could be a good rebound for him. I know he's come out with stuff since, but this could be a pretty good rebound. I mean, he's shown he's a very capable director. I mean, look at Fury. That is a great movie. And End of Watch, another great movie that he's done.
Yeah, well, I
So
do like End of Watch a lot. That is good. Yeah,
mhm.
yeah. I mean, it could be a fun ride. I mean, it looks like good action. I mean, Jason Statham usually delivers for these types of movies, so
Yeah,
I'll enjoy watching him on screen for he's Shaw, right? I was gonna say Hobbs. He's
yeah,
Shaw,
he's Shaw.
isn't it? Okay.
Yeah.
New movie Night Swim by director Bryce McGuire. It looks like it's based on a short by McGuire from 2014 of the same name.
Hmm.
I don't know what to think about this trailer. I didn't
It
get a lot
reminded
from it.
me. It reminded me a lot of. Have you ever seen the movie Lights Out?
I don't know. It doesn't ring a bell.
So David Sandberg, I believe that's his name. Let me look this up. But David Sandberg is the director of Shazam.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Sorry. I
Did
gotta say something in a second.
not the what?
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you on that. Uh, Are you familiar with this
Or David
Kazam
F.
Shazam?
Sandberg.
Okay.
Yeah, David F.
Are you,
Sandberg, and I'm familiar with the Shazam, Kazam, the Shaq.
I I saw a post on Facebook joking about this, and it is such a weird phenomenon that I have fallen victim to completely. I I saw the two posters, Kazam and Shazam, and they were the same poster, just one was Sinbad and one was Shaq up top. And but the
Hmm.
posters were the same, and I was like, I know these movies are similar and could get confused, but the posters aren't the same poster. And so I
No,
googled it to find it, and I couldn't find the movie. And I was like, "Where's the Shazam movie?" I started looking. Then I went on IMDb to look under Sinbad's filmography, couldn't find it, and it was like, so I YouTube Sinbad Shazam, whatever. A couple keywords, and it came back. It was like, there's this phenomenon that kids in the '90s just made up this movie out of nowhere. That they all think Sinbad played in this movie called Shazam, and Shaq played in Kazam, and they think Sinbad played in Shazam, and he's a genie, and he was like, he's never even been in a movie as a genie. They show all these, and people. Then the rumor started that that Sinbad paid used his influence and money and resources to have it just stripped on the internet, which I mean the Kardashians can't even do that. I don't. It just the it's such a weird phenomenon that it happened, this
we fell
Mandela
down that
effect.
rabbit hole. Yeah,
But what's crazy is how it unfolded for me, and how I was like, I mean, they're talking about these '90s kids, this guy just making up this
this
movie.
guy. Yeah.
Somehow the whole world just made it up, and we all agreed it was real. And then they're like, it's one of the most mind blowing experiences I've been through. It was when I got home from the creator. I was doing a little research on the creator, and somehow it took me on a completely different track
Deep.
for a while.
You just did a complete different deep dive.
Yeah, it blew my mind, and I'm like, no, I remember the movie, and then you see I think I don't know what it is, like an SNL skit or something. Sinbad's such an eclectic dresser too that a lot of his clothes, regardless, look like he's a genie. But there's a couple. There might have been an SNL clip that he played a genie. I don't know. There's something that it incepted into our minds. I didn't mean to go off the rails there. That just you said Shazam, and I was like, dude, this is next level.
You have to get it off your chest. Hey,
Yeah.
sometimes you just have to get things off your chest, man. But the director of the actuals is Shazam, David F. Sandberg, not David S. Sandberg. David F. Sandberg. Uh, he directed Lights Out, and he originally directed a short that made its way onto YouTube, and they made a feature-length film out of it. And then he directed because Lights Out was such a big hit and it was very well regarded, and he then got on to do Annabelle Creation. I think this might be a similar situation. James Wan is the guy who produced Lights Out. James Wan is the guy producing this movie. I get a Lights Out vibe from it, and I think it could work incredibly well because Lights Out was a very good horror film. And this looks creepy. I mean, who hasn't jumped into a pool at nighttime and kind of been freaked out about what's underneath? Even though it's a pool, there's nothing underneath there, but what if? And I think that is something that we've all kind of dealt with. If you've ever been in a
Yeah,
pool at nighttime.
yeah. I mean, it was definitely an interesting trailer. And Blumhouse is an interesting production company. I mean, they have so much crap, I think, but then they just hit sometimes, and they make these
Sometimes they have
great.
good stuff.
Yeah, and it's just they have a kind of a law 1% type model where they're just going to throw a lot at the wall and something's going to stick and it's going to be great and we're going to remember them for that. But the one thing, Carrie Condon's in this movie, and the only thing I know of her work is Banshees of Inisherin. I thought she was so good in that movie. I think that movie was just chock full of Oscar worthy performances, and to me, she like stood out above them all. She in the Oscars last year, she was in. I mean, the supporting actress nominees last year were next level. They were. I mean, Angela
They
Bassett,
were.
Jamie Lee Curtis, and Carrie Condon, and then I forgot her name, but the woman from The Whale. Great great performances, and I'm not saying one should have won or the other, but Carrie Condon I felt like did not get enough of a like. I don't think she was expected to win enough. You know what I mean? Like
She was
I just
terrific in that movie,
I
and she was
really thought she was so
my
good.
favorite performance of the movie.
Me too, and I love the movie, and I love all the performances in the movie too. And she
Yeah.
somehow stood above them all. I just so I don't know. I want to see her work more, so I'll be seeing it for that regard
And
alone.
also Wyatt Russell's in this, and he's another
Yeah,
actor I really like and I really appreciate.
yeah, yeah. We'll see. Could be good. Last trailer we'll get to Horizon and American Saga. This looks interesting. We don't have a lot. Yeah, it looks like it
No.
covers a 15-year span pre and post Civil War.
Hmm.
It's directed, written, starring Kevin Costner.
This is like a
I'm
big
interested.
passion project for him,
I
and it's
bet it is.
a two-part event movie.
I love that.
I do too.
Love that it's being
This is an
marketed as a two-part theatrical event. Like it looks like part one's June 28th, part two is August 16th. That that is right up my alley. I love something like that. That makes me so excited. And just the nature of the premise of the show looks like right up Kevin Costner's wheelhouse. I know Kevin Costner directing is an interesting conversation, but I mean I like Dances with Wolves a
I
lot. I
mean,
mean I know
he's
some
an
people might think it's boring.
Oscar-winning director.
I know. I think Dances with Wolves is great. Do you like Dances with Wolves?
Yeah,
I think some people
I
think
do.
it's pretty boring.
I do. I think it's a wonderful
This
movie.
isn't the same story, but it reminds me of a similar like I imagine he'll bring a similar passion to this as he did that.
Well, this is the movie that kind of started his rift with the Yellowstone crew, from what I gather. I mean, I don't know enough about it because I don't watch Yellowstone, so I don't really pay
Yeah.
attention to a lot of the news about it. But from what I've read, it seems like that was the conflict. He was busy with this, and then he was also being pulled toward Yellowstone.
Yeah, Yellowstone's so weird. I mean, I watch Yellowstone and Kevin Costner's good in it. And Yellowstone's a good show. I like Yellowstone, but I season 5 came out a year ago, the first half of it, and it ended in like they took their mid-season break in January. It's still not returned. It was announced a couple months ago that the final episodes of this season 5 were going to be the end of the season, end of the
Yeah,
show, end of the series,
yeah.
and then it was just announced recently. I mean, we know there was like a battle between Costner and the creative team and or the leadership, but it feels like it was just kind of announced. He's not coming back, so it's like, is it not even filmed yet? I mean, the season's been on a break for a year. I don't know. Regardless, he's good. I mean, and that's a open prairie, live off the land cowboy type movie. So this, I mean, he looks great, cool stash.
But there's not much in
I'm
the trailer.
excited.
All there is in the trailer is just him cocking the gun and
Yeah,
shooting, and then
yeah,
announcing it's a two-part event. And I think it looks cool. It was a random time to drop it, I think, but like it looks cool. I like the whole two-part event feel, so it's probably going to be super long. Yeah, I'm pumped for it. Maybe it'll be good. I wonder if it's really good. Will part one and part two be considered two different movies, or will they be considered the same movie?
I don't know. I love stuff like that. And first of all, calling it an
But
event, it's a marketing ploy right up my alley. I love it.
yeah,
They haven't. I'm trying to. see on the crew if they've announced like a cinematographer for it yet.
Yeah, I
J.
wonder
Michael
who it
Murrow.
is. I mean, it's probably someone very accomplished because it looks, in the one shot we got, it looks very, very good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like it's J. Michael Murrow. Um,
Uh-huh.
he did Crash. He did Crash, Chronicles of Riddick. I don't know if he was a cinematographer for those, but he worked on them. Crash, he was a cinematographer for. SEAL Team, Billionaire Boys Club, Longmire, Book of Love, The Brink, Southland, Parker. Did some Shameless, Rush Hour 3. Dreader
Okay.
photography. That's interesting. Oh well, I don't know. I mean, it looked good in the trailer. Hopefully, it'll shine through. I mean, the cinematography on Wolves is phenomenal. Dances with the Wolves. So
Yeah. So we'll see how it turns out, man.
yeah, I'm excited. So well, what have you been watching this weekend? Let's get into some of
So
that.
I've watched, like, just this week I've watched 4 total things.
Okay.
I'll start off with on a good note. I watched Elemental for the first time. Finally, got around to watching it. I kind of split up watching it. I watched like the first like third of it with Zoe, and she was kind of into it. And after the first 30 minutes, she kind of gets distracted. She wants to move around, play around. She doesn't want to sit and really watch TV. We don't really watch a whole lot of TV with her around, so we try not to. So makes sense. But the rest of it, I ended up just watching on my phone, and I loved it, man. I thought it was so good. It's such a shame that it premiered at that film festival, the exact same one that Indiana Jones premiered at, and it got like burned badly.
Mm-hmm.
But it had like a really bad critical score. But then when it came out like to more critics, and it got screened to more critics, it Rotten Tomato score jumped up. I think it's I'm gonna look this up right now. It's sitting somewhere in Elemental. Let's see. Yeah, 74%. It was really low. It was like in the 30s and it jumped up to 74%. I would put it even higher. I I had so much fun with this movie. I it's it's a beautiful story. It's an immigrant story, on top of being a father-daughter story, on top of being a hopelessly romantic movie in an age where we don't get a lot of those. A lot of movies feel the need to be cynical about love, and this movie wears its heart on its sleeve. It's very heartwarming, and it really pulled at my string. Someone who is a hopeless romantic. I loved that aspect of the story. I loved all 3 of those aspects of the story. The animation is beautiful. The voice work is great. It's got funny moments. It's got tearjerker moments. This is Pixar at its at its best. I really really enjoyed this movie. It's a shame that it eventually like started to earn more money, and it kind of became a movie that eventually started to make its money back. I don't know if it broke even finally, but it's one of those movies that word of mouth really helped it out, and I can see why. It's a terrific movie. Maybe my favorite animated movie of the year, even above Turtles and Into the Spider or Across the Spider Verse, which again, great year for animation. Those 3
Yeah.
movies are terrific.
Cool. I'd like to see it. I have not seen it yet. I'm a big Pixar guy. I mean, I'll go see them on my own and catch them when I can from time to time. I don't have children, so there's less of like an opportunity to watch them all the time. I mean, I can see it when I want to, but it just doesn't get prioritized for me as much. But that's good to hear. I mean, normally they always hit for me. I mean, I there's very very few Pixar properties that I don't think are excellent. So I love the emotion it makes me feel. I love the laugh. I love the animation. It always gets better and better. It's an exciting thing.
Yeah, man. The next thing I watched was Totally Killer, which I finished up yesterday, and that is a slasher film that is it's a time travel slasher flick that is on Amazon Prime right now. And honestly, I had so much fun with it. Once again, it's right up my alley. it's similar. Like if you like Happy Death Day, or if you like a Freaky, that movie that came out a few years ago
Vince
with
Vaughn.
Vince Vaughn. Yeah, if you like those movies, this is similar. It's a comedy, and they do stuff within this comedy that it's really funny. Like they send a girl from present day back to the 80s, and she has to deal with, like the difference in culture back then, and how, like, if that could get really tired really quick, but how they do it's really funny. And the kills are violent and graphic. It handles tone very, very well. I really enjoyed this. It's got Modern Family in it, Julia Bowen as the mom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a lot
Claire
of fun
Dunphy.
with it. Yeah,
Good. That sounds good. Yeah. I haven't seen Happy Death Day, but I've heard great things about it too, and that'd be on my list to watch.
I give it a must see. I didn't give a rating for Elemental. That would be a must see. But Totally Killer would be. I said Totally Killer would be a must see. I would probably give Totally Killer a go see it. I can't. It doesn't emotionally affect me as much as something like an Elemental,
Mm-hmm.
so I can't quite get it to that level. However, it is so much fun. I can see this easily being one of those movies that around this time of year I pop on and I'm rewatching it constantly. It's a fun horror movie, and I love fun horror movies, and I love The Mask too. The Mask is a choice, but it worked for me.
Cool. I'll check it out.
Yeah, Walker, did you get a chance to go see The Exorcist this weekend?
I haven't yet. No, sorry. I haven't gotten there yet.
So here's the
Did
thing.
you see it?
I, yeah, I want to wait until you've seen it to have a discussion on it.
Yeah.
I don't want to really color how you feel about it. So I won't say much. I'll just say that never have I ever been more disappointed in a movie than I have with this one. I have some thoughts. They're not good.
I can't imagine I'll differentiate much, but I'll go see it. And we'll chat about it next show. We'll I'm
I
sure
was
you have a
reading
lot to say.
reviews for it. And I'm like, it can't be this bad. And then I see it. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, it is. It is that bad. And I hate to say it because I think David Gordon Green is a talented filmmaker. Horror just isn't his thing. And I'll leave it at that until you've seen it, and then I'll unload.
Okay, yeah, I think I have some thoughts and stuff, but I'll save it for the discussion. We'll get into it.
Fair enough.
I saw I watched the premiere Loki this week. You've not seen it, right?
No, I haven't seen it. No. I watched like the first like 2 minutes, and I was doing the
No.
thing, so I was like, all right. And it wasn't because I wasn't like into it. I was into it, but I just couldn't stay awake.
So yeah, I'll just touch on it. I won't spoil anything for us. We can maybe next time we'll catch up and we'll catch up on what we think of the series so far, and we'll start covering it week to week at that point, maybe like we did Ahsoka. I What can I say about it? Just the first episode's all it's out. I give it a 10 out of 10. I thought it was
Really?
fantastic. I loved
Okay.
it. It was the best Marvel property I've seen since. I mean, maybe I'm forgetting some stuff, but since like Endgame, I thought it was
Better than
hysterical.
Guardians 3 and better than No Way Home?
I loved every second of it. Tom Hiddleston,
Wow.
Owen Wilson, both brilliant, and them together, their chemistry is it was already great in season one. It is. I mean, it's only one episode. I don't know how sustainable it is, but this one episode, their chemistry together, hysterical. I mean, nonstop joke per minute. The exposition, perfect. The season picks up right where we left off at the end of season one.
Yeah.
Literally the minute we left off, and I didn't do a rewatch, and I did a little bit of a before you watch like recap, but not enough of one. So there was a little moment of like unstable footing for about 5 minutes getting into it, where you're like, oh god, I mean it's a pretty in depth, high concept plot, so you've got to you got to like pay attention. You got to, there's so much time and
Well, that's kind of how
what.
season one was, which again,
Yeah, I'm just
I
saying the show in
love
general.
season
So
one.
if I didn't, but the fact that I didn't like do a deep dive like rewatch on season one, it took me a minute to like get my footing to pay attention and understand what was happening. It it happened quickly, and the exposition, the way they tell the story, the way they catch you up to speed, the way they tell you what's happening, hysterical and perfect. Are you familiar with the castings in this season?
Oh yeah,
And who else? So Ki Hoi Kwan is in it for the guy.
yeah.
The great,
I love him
great.
in the clip you
I
see
love that he's
him
working.
in. He's
What?
perfect. I love him in the
Yeah.
clip we see him in. He's perfect.
Oh, I haven't seen the clip, but he his I love that he's working more and more, and he's so talented. He bounces. He jives right into them perfectly. The episode was beautiful. Made a lot of sense. Made me so excited. I mean, this is the first time in a while or ever, probably. I mean, since season one, Loki. I didn't really like season one. I hope this quality holds because it was fantastic. I'd love to get in. I don't want to ruin any of the jokes, so I'll wait on some of them to have more of a deeper discussion with you once you've seen them. But I mean, if you want to know what I'm looking for from Marvel, this is it. I loved it.
So I'm probably after we get done with recording this, I have to do. I have to watch Loki, and then I also have to
Mhm.
watch. I've seen the first episode of Gen V. Um,
Mhm.
I will watch the rest of that later. I know that you're not really you haven't watched The Boys or Gen V, so we
I've never
probably
seen it.
won't
No, I
discuss it
did try one
on the show.
episode. Yeah, good.
But
I,
maybe
I
maybe
tried watching The Boys, but I only watched one episode, and I watched it with my wife. She didn't like it. That sometimes pulls me out of it if I'm watching it with someone who doesn't dig it, and it makes me feel like especially if it was my recommendation, and I'm like, God, they're hating it, and it kind of takes me out of it. But so I never revisited it. But the concept I think is cool, and
I
everyone
think
people I
you would really
respect
like it.
like it. Yeah, so
I think
I give it another go.
yeah, I think if maybe if maybe if you decide to do a binge of that series, and maybe once Boys season 4 comes out, we can discuss it on the show. But
Yeah,
so far, for those people who watch Gen V, I like the first episode quite a lot. Looking forward to watching the rest of that. But I'm really excited to watch Loki.
yeah. I would love to hear what you think about it. I hope you like it like I liked it. I just think the just the banter there was perfect. I'm just thinking of jokes in my head right now that I just kept laughing at. But speaking of good stuff, at least what I think, we got the Ahsoka season finale this week. What'd you
Yeah,
think?
we've wrapped it up, man. You know, Star
I guess
Wars
what'd you think on
TV.
the episode specifically, and then we can get into what you thought about the series as a whole.
I really like the finale. There's some stuff like I wish emotionally we could have gotten a little bit more clarity on what were Ezra's thoughts about the fact that Sabine pretty much sacrificed the Return of Thrawn to go save him. We didn't really get into that. I wish we would have seen. I mean, uh, why am I dropping the Hugh Kang or Hu Yang? I don't know why I kept wanting to say Hu
Oh yeah,
Kang.
the droid. Yeah.
Yeah, Hu Yang giving that explanation of what happened between Sabine and Ahsoka. I liked that, but I think I would have preferred to see it between the characters. I get why it was dropped though, because Ahsoka is no longer holding on to these things. She's trying to live in the present and be present, and she's trying to move forward. So that's why she didn't have more of a reaction to that. But that's kind of where my complaints begin and end for the finale. I loved how everything wrapped up. I loved seeing Ezra make his new lightsaber.
Yeah.
It is like
It reminded me
Kanan's
of
and
me
him
making
getting to
mine at Disney too.
yeah,
Like I love
I
like seeing it with
bet
the emitter.
the emitter and him like going back and forth with Hu Yang
Yeah.
about no, that's too skinny, which is kind of like a reference to Rebels and how the lightsabers look too skinny. It's like I
That's funny.
really enjoyed that. I loved seeing those three Jedi back to back to back. it was great. It was great. It reminded me of like peak level Clone Wars stuff, but live action. I loved it. Bold choice leaving Ahsoka and Sabine behind, and Ezra getting on the ship and flying off. Now it's a little convenient that we don't see him fly off of Thrawn's ship, but he somehow
on
gets out of
the
it.
shuttle.
How?
Yeah.
Yeah. However, I mean, we've seen Ezra do stuff like that all the time throughout Rebels, so I kind of bought it. I was like, okay, we don't have to see it. We understand that he faked his voice over the com, which is something he's done from Rebels,
Right.
and snuck off. So I bought that. Uh, Seeing the father, the son, and the daughter, the statues, and seeing Balin on them and looking out toward what looked like that bright light in the sky. It looked like the palace where they were at the end of the World Between Worlds arc when they leave.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, I know what you're talking
They're
about.
gonna get into the father, the son, and the daughter, and I think that is bold, and I think that that's how you're gonna move Star Wars forward. Yeah, yeah. I think this series as a whole, this episode was like I'd probably give it like a 8.5 out of 10. Really enjoyed the
Mhm.
episode, or a 4 out of 10, or a 4, not a 4 out of 10, a 4 out of 5,
Right, right, right.
3.8 out of 5. Series as a whole, loved it. It's my favorite Star Wars series. Single season of Star Wars television live action so far.
Wow, good. Awesome. Yeah, I loved it too. And we're starting to learn each other's taste a little more and more, and it, I'm not a big fantasy guy. We've talked about this. Like I like the best fantasy. I mean, I love Game of Thrones, but Game of Thrones I thought had a good mix of like fantasy was a side portion. You know what I mean? And Star Wars kind of felt like that for most of Star Wars. That you feel very grounded on a human level, and then the fantasy aspect is kind of, I don't know. You look at these aliens and you just feel like you're talking to people like droids, and it just feels very human when you're watching it. And then they're good with the Force. Now the animated series have a lot more fantasy stuff. I mean, between Night Sister stuff and the father, the son, and the daughter, and all the World Between Worlds. A lot of like they dive into that lore a lot more on the animated stuff. It's a lot easier to do in the animated stuff.
Yeah.
First of all, for your intended audience, for your resources in terms of showing it makes a lot more sense. But I think they're doing a great job of, for even for someone like me or someone who's not, I've seen the animated series, and I'm like I'm like prepared for it, and I know what's like, or I kind of know like the direction they're sort of taking things, or at least have like rumors and theories. But I think they're doing it just enough to like not scare people off, not make people be like, this thing's weird as hell. Like, I mean, it's weird, but it's not like too weird. You're still Star Wars. We're still watching Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's just new. It's growing. It's interesting. It's just a little different. We're stretching the box a little bit, especially for live action, which I can appreciate. I love the Kanan Jarrus references. I thought that was fun. Tell the story about Caleb slash Kanan.
Mhm.
I also like seeing him build the lightsaber. Reminded me a lot of me building mine at Disney World, like on the little stand and getting the emitter and things like that. There was some good action. Sabine like just flew through two TIE fighters, just right through them. Is that what happened? Just
I
cut them in
guess you
half.
just flew right into them.
Yeah, that was cool. It kind of reminded me of earlier in the season when the big ring like flies like through all those people. That was a cool scene too, and it kind of reminded me of it.
Yeah.
Obviously, we got to touch on the zombie night trooper. So I mean, it feels like the whole season we were thinking maybe they already were zombies, or like they were kind of pieced together, and I don't know exactly what's going on, but they resurrected. It was perfect for October
Mm-hmm.
season finale. Again, very weird and very high fantasy and stuff, but I'm on board.
It
I'll
yeah,
dig it.
you saw him do it in Clone Wars. It works. I love it. I love it. Love that they did that, and they did the green smoke even.
Yeah. And the green, the Night Sister stuff at the beginning. Again, a lot of that going on, and I saw a lot of that in Clone Wars or through the animated series, and the video game Jedi Fallen Order has a lot of Night Sister stuff, and you spend a
Mhm.
lot of time on Deathmere, and the green touch her head stuff that happened looks just like the game. I mean, you usually would be like, oh, the game looks just like the live action, but everything just looks just like the game, which is pretty
And
cool.
I mean, getting to see, oh my god, why am I'm so terrible with names. Why am I all of a sudden forgetting it? I'm gonna get my Star Wars fan card revoked from me.
For what we talking about? Who we talking about?
The woman who gets
Morgan
knighted
Elsbeth?
as a Night Sister. Yeah, Morgan Elsbeth. Thank you. When she goes out like a champ in this episode. I
Yeah,
loved
great fight.
the sword she gets of Mother Talzin. That was
Yeah,
awesome. The
and
sound it
the fight
makes.
choreography was awesome.
Yeah.
I like that she broke Ahsoka's lightsaber was kind of cool, and
Yeah, now
she
she
fought
has
also.
just the one.
Yeah, big time hero moment from Sabine. I dig it. It gave me chills when it was like not alone.
Yes.
Love that little moment, and it was nice that where it took Sabine. Maybe I'm being a little shallow here, but it took Sabine from kind of feeling. Now I knew she was passionate about finding Ezra. I knew that's important. It's hard to put yourself in those types of shoes. It's been so long since I've had a best friend of mine get taken to another galaxy for 10 years, but I think she could come. Obviously, she was making a poor choice by doing it, like in the show. You know what I mean? And it can kind of come off to the viewers who are super intelligent and don't. I know better than that. I would never share a star map with a mm, kind of Jedi, kind of Sith guy.
But
But
what she ends up doing, it's kind of fate that they're there. Like, and I think that's
I
the
know,
kind of
yeah.
conclusion that Ahsoka comes to is like, it's fate that we're here. She had no intention of siding with these people, but she has attachment to Ezra. And speaking of which, I know I said beginning, it felt like they put Ezra put Sabine in the friend zone because they always kind of had a thing in the animated show, but when they're fighting in the hallway and he just goes out of the blue, I missed you. Like, I still think they're teasing that. They're still going to be a thing.
Yeah, well, my point was when she does it and you realize she's like risking the galaxy for Ezra and stuff, it can just kind of feel like she's just being almost selfish or bratty or I don't know, just ignorant or something. But I like that she came back for Ahsoka too because now it's just her character. This is her,
It's
and she's
full
coming
circle.
back.
Yeah.
She's there's no point in saving the galaxy if she can't save her friends, which is a good. I just like the way it was handled. It was I bit my tongue a little bit. It hurt. It I just thought the way that came around first full circle exactly
Well, what do you,
was
speaking of Sabine,
special.
what do you think of her using the Force?
Yeah, I'm into it. I'm bought into the people. I like the move. I like the I was gonna call it the
Very,
Hoth move with Vader with Luke, and then I love the Kylo kill.
yeah,
That's
it's
always
very
cool.
Last Jedi, uh,
Yeah,
Kylo Ren.
Red Room.
Yeah, Red
Yeah,
Rim.
that's always sick.
I think so. A lot of people, I've seen these comments before where it's like, did she just try harder? That's how she did it? No, it's like, like what Qui-Gon Jinn says in episode one. He says, don't think, use your instincts. And she acted instinctively. And when she let go and stopped trying, do or do not, there is no try, she did.
Yeah,
And that's why that worked for me. I think the moment it really worked. It really worked. And then you get her helping Ezra, pushing him, which is something we saw in Rebels all the time. I really, really dug seeing her use the Force. And at first I was like, how are they going to do that? Because like they kind of hint in Rebels that she might be Force sensitive. I know that she trained with a dark saber, but now they're really leaning into it, and it's like,
hmm
okay, I'm on board with it. I'm
yeah. And we've
for it.
had a lot of stuff with like Finn and the sequel trilogy touched on it a little. We just had a lot of stuff where like you feel like it's a little easier to buy into. Like the Force is in all of us, and like more than
Yeah.
just Jedi can hone in on it, which is cool. I like the ground attack. First of all, the hellfire raining down
Yeah.
was
Rain of
awesome.
fire. Yeah.
It looked awesome, and then yeah, it felt like a video game. It felt like we were going through levels of different mini bosses and bosses to get there. We got to fight through an overload of stormtroopers or night troopers, and then zombie troopers, and then we close the doors, and we get up to these other animated tougher bosses that were harder to beat, and then you could see like the zombie jaw under their helmets, which was cool.
Hmm.
Loved all that. I mean, that felt like a great just progression, a way to show it to us. I like Thrawn in this episode. I love his dialogue. I love when he's like an acceptable outcome. I think those are always such like nice little drops he does, and I really love the comms communication between Ahsoka and Thrawn at the end when he's like, "Victory was mine this time."
Yeah. Well, they
That gave
lose.
me.
Like the
I
heroes
know.
ultimately lose. They don't
Yeah.
win, and I think that that's necessary. And I think we're gonna see until the movie, the heroes are probably going to continue to lose.
Yeah.
And
I hope
I
so.
think
I
that's
kind of want him to. I mean, Empire's my
yeah,
favorite movie. Maybe my favorite movie of all time. But I,
yeah,
if I have to nitpick something, and it's probably a bad take. I love the season, and I like the episode a lot. I mean, it wasn't my favorite of the series, but it was a great episode. I mean, that's a high bar to clear. I really like the whole series. Cannot wait for season 2, and love the landing. I thought they stuck it here. If I had to be like nitpicky a little bit for what I know right now, I kind of wish they lost worse. If that makes sense, I kind of wish.
I've seen that complaint.
I
Yeah,
kind of wish Thrawn was more victorious, and the loss was more devastating. And I don't necessarily mean someone had to die or something like that. I just introducing Thrawn into live action. I wanted him, and I think he did. I think he's getting the respect he deserves. But I wanted it to make a splash, kind of like, hey, this we're not toying around. We're gonna have a couple seasons of TV and a couple movies that are gonna talk about how this dude is, and we're like, you know how Walking Dead Negan comes in and like bashes the guy with the bat, and it's like not necessarily that, but I just kind of wish it was
that's
a
the
little
extreme
more
because I know that
intense.
turned off a lot of people to The Walking Dead.
Sure,
Yeah,
but it's just like I'm a sucker for like especially, I mean, just Empire. I mean, I want a happy ending ultimately, but I guess I don't know. I like mixing things up and not having a happy ending. Now I do like that they kept hope, because you never, even in Empire, you never finish the movie not being hopeful for the good guys.
yeah,
Even though they lost and it may be terrible, but you still have hope going forward, and you don't feel like all is lost, which is what Star Wars is all about. And I think
yeah. It's
they
all about
nailed
hope.
that sentiment.
Yeah, I think ultimately for the season overall, I'd give it a must see. Like I loved it, especially if
Yeah.
you're a Star Wars fan. Like I said, this is my single favorite season of Star Wars live action, supplanting Mandalorian season 2. This was a great show. I thought it started out good, but then it heated up. Once you got to episode 4, 5, 6, it just
Great.
scorcher,
Yeah.
and then
Even
it got,
3.
yeah, even 3. I loved 7. I loved 8. Like
It was
every
good.
single episode was really phenomenal.
It was
And
new. It was different.
yeah, and this is my kind of Star Wars. And the way that it ends too, with like Balin looking out toward, what we think is the father, the son and the daughter
Son.
on on those statues. There's been a lot of rumors about Abeloth being like the main villain, which is kind of like the mother who was mortal, who took this bath and became corrupted and kind of caused unbalance in the force, and maybe that's who's calling to him or something like that. There's been rumors and or not rumors, but there's been theories rather about that. I would totally be on board for that. That's weird Star Wars. This is my kind of Star Wars where it mixes, because Star Wars is not it's an amalgamation and a melting pot of all these different genres. It's a genre unto itself, and I think it can easily be messed with, and you could make it too much of one thing and it not feel like Star Wars, and this is the kind of show that gets me excited about Star Wars, and I absolutely loved it.
I agree. I had a couple more things just jotted down that I wanted to mention just because I loved them in the episode. I love the I love using a stormtrooper as a disguise. You know, going back to A New Hope, that's just a classic. And I mean, it was a risky move from Ezra. You know, coming out into a Rebel base, New Republic base with wearing head to toe for stormtrooper for effect, but it was nice. I love that Chopper knew who it was. It was like a dog, which I love that. I love
Yeah,
Chopper. I always enjoyed Chopper. Chopper's actually made me cry in Rebels before,
Chopper the
and
war criminal.
so I loved him coming to that. Ezra and Hera reuniting. That was a really nice moment. It was special. Speaking of the Star Destroyer, I love the clamping mechanism. I just love that's like tactical, like
That tactile
it
feel of
makes sense.
yeah.
To it, I think that's just sweet. I think it's worth mentioning. You know, I don't want to get too into like any kind of recastings or rumors or anything like that, just out of respect. I mean, it's worth mentioning again that Ray Stevenson just knocked it out of the park with Bale
Yeah,
and Scroll. I mean, he's one of the best
completely.
Star Wars characters we've seen ever. I mean, he and it's such a shame, I hate that like he didn't get to see the way the world loves it and the way it was received because it's been almost unanimous that I've seen everyone loves this character and loves his portrayal of it. I don't know what they'll do in the future. I imagine I don't know if they rewrote some stuff because of unsure stuff, but it doesn't matter. I mean, his arc, the mystery behind him throughout the entire season. You know, we'll get into some future stuff in another episode, another conversation. But for now, rest in peace to Ray Stevenson. He knocked it out of the park. It's fantastic. One of the best parts of the show. And I am interested to see what's next though with all these characters. I this was very high on my list. I love Mandalorian and I love Andor. I know Andor's kind of divisive, but I'm hoping we get some cool stuff. It looks like they're on Dathomir and they have a bunch of coffins. It looks like, and they just reanimated a bunch of stormtroopers, so they
Yep.
may be doing it for an entire army. I guess.
Yeah, Night
I'm
Sister
excited to see
Army.
Dathomir in live action.
I am too, because that is a cool looking planet.
Yeah. But that's about all I got. You think,
Yeah,
you got anything
same
else?
here, man. Nah, I'm all tapped out.
Well, that does it for this week's show. Thank you, Ben, for joining me, and thank you all again, as always, for listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Thank you for watching if you're catching us on YouTube. Let us know in the comments what you thought of the Ahsoka season finale and what you thought about the series as in a whole. As a whole, jeez, not in a whole. Be sure to subscribe and like and come back each week for more movie talk. We're going to do some deep dives this month, and we'll keep doing our weekly show. We're on the off weeks to discuss more things, more movie news, trailers. Let us know what you thought of today's show. And with that said, this has been Ben and Walker, and we'll see you next time.
Bye bye.